Now I request Srimati Shinu Koshi, HOD of Computer Science and Engineering Department, JSS Polytechnic, Mysore, to take over and start the webinar.
Good morning, everybody. We are conducting this webinar on statistics and analytics today so that you will be familiar and you will feel comfortable with the new curriculum that has been introduced now. It has three parts. In the first part, it is about gathering of data. This data gathering is done using Google Forms. In the second part, we are analyzing the data that has been gathered by Google Forms. This analysis of the data will be in the form of charts, graphs, etc. and it will be using the tool Microsoft Excel. In the third part, we have Python programming. Today, I will be starting with the third part, that is Python programming, and we have in the lab cycle programs 19 to 26. That is 8 programs we have in Python programming. So hope this seminar will be useful for you, and if you have any doubts, you can ask me at the end of the presentation. Thank you. Now, let's start with the concepts. Why should we study programming? So for example, suppose you take a washing machine. So you would like to make it do the washing cycle according to your specification. So what do? You set the washing cycle timer, the spin dryer timer, whether it is heavy duty, light duty, etc. And finally, on the washing machine, it will continue its work. So the user has to give instructions to a machine in order to make it perform properly. Let us take another example. What of Alexa? We give instructions to Alexa telling, play music, the lights, brighten the lights, etc. What does Alexa do? It will listen to our commands, interpret them, and then it understands what to do. So, for any machine to work, we have to give it instructions. So, program is nothing but a set of instructions given to a computer. So, for a computer to do any task, it may be a simple task like addition of two numbers or a very complex task like sending a spacecraft to the moon, we have to give instructions to a computer. So programming is nothing but writing a program so that the computer can do some work for us. Now, in order to write a program, we have to write it in a language that is understood by the computer. That is why we are studying programming languages. So every programming language will have
audio.
my audio. There was some audio problem. Sorry, I'll just start again. Good morning, everybody. We are doing the statistics and analytics lab exercises today so that you can feel comfortable and do the programs very easily. I hope that after the seminar, all of you will be able to conduct these lab exercises very easily. Now, this lab is having 3 parts. The first part deals with the gathering of data. Data can be gathered using Google Forms. After the gathering of the data, we have to analyze this data. The analysis part is going to be done using Microsoft Excel, where we will be analyzing the data using charts, graphs, etc. In the part 3 of the syllabus, we have Python programming. Today, I will be dealing with the part 3, that is Python programming. In this, we have totally 8 exercises, that is from lab cycle number 19 to lab cycle 26. First of all, let us see why we require to learn programming. Take a general example of a washing machine. In order to do the washing cycles according to our requirement, we have to set its controls like spin cycle, dry cycle, whether it is heavy duty, timer, etc. Finally, the machine will do its work on its own. Let us take another example of Alexa. We give instructions like play the music, dim the lights, etc. What does Alexa do? It will listen to our instructions, recognize it. It is going to interpret our instructions and do according to the way we would like it to perform. Now, all this is possible because we are giving instructions to the computer or to the machine. So, in order to make the computer work according to our specifications, we have to give it instructions. So, program is nothing but the set of instructions given to a computer. Whenever we write a program, it has to be written in a formal language. That is, it should be written in the correct sequence, in the correct syntax, and we have to see that the computer understands this language. For that, every programming language will have a set of rules. This set of rules is called as syntax. Example, in the English language, we start a sentence with a capital letter, we end with the full stop. So this is the rule of English language. Similarly, every programming language will have its own syntax or set of rules. Some of the examples of programming languages are C, Java, Python. Why is Python introduced in the syllabus? Well, the main reason is it is very user-friendly. So, it is very easy for the beginners to learn. The number of rules or the syntax available for Python is very less compared to the other programming languages like C and Java. There, the syntax is very rigid. Here, the rules are very flexible. So, you have a lot of flexibility in the syntax in Python. Secondly, it is free to download from the internet. That is, it is called as open source. Thirdly, it is a commonly used trending language in the industry nowadays. It is used in various technologies like artificial intelligence, game development, image processing, etc. Next, let us look at the history of Python. Python was released in 1991 by a Dutch programmer, Guido van Rossum. Now, while the syllabus was introduced and we were discussing it in a meeting, our principal wanted to know only one thing. Why did they call it as Python? So those who have that curiosity to know about its naming, Van Rossum was a fan of the British comedy group Monty Python. So he wanted to select a name that is short, unique, and slightly so that anybody who hears it will be like wondering why this name. So it is just for that reason, nothing else. Now we look at some of the basic concepts of Python programming which are necessary in order for you to do the lab cycle. First, we look at what is keyword or reserved word. Now, these are words which have a special meaning in a programming language. We cannot use it for any other purpose. Let us take an example. So, in the English language, we have book. It has a specific meaning. We have all the terms with a specified meaning. Similarly, in a programming language also, we have certain words which are already defined by the language and can be used only for a specific purpose. It has a special meaning. There are 33 keywords in Python. These keywords cannot be used as variable names, function names, etc. Remember, these keywords should be written in lowercase, that is small letters, alphabets ABC. But there is an exception. The three words true, false, and none are written in camel case. That is, if you notice, the first letter is in capital letter and the remaining are in small letter. So this type of casing is called as camel casing. Here are some of the keywords given by Python. So there are 33 keywords. Out of these keywords, the ones that are used in our lab cycle are only 4. That is if, else, for, and while. Did you notice that all of this is written in small letters? So please remember, whenever you write keywords, you cannot use capital letters. You have to write all of them in small letters only. Next, we look at what is a variable. Now, in order to do any calculations, that is the first number as well as the second number. We have to store this number somewhere. So we store these numbers in what is called as a variable. Variables are like containers to store data. The data is stored inside computer memory. Every memory location has an address. The address will be in terms of numbers like 20,000, 5,000, etc. It is very difficult for us to remember these addresses. So what should we do? We give a name for these memory locations and we identify these memory locations by the name I have selected. For example, in the diagram you can say, see A equal to 5. A is the name of the variable. It represents location and I'm storing a data 5 in it. So for the different types of data, we have to use different variables. That is, every variable can store only one data. So one memory location will store only one data. If we want to store two data, I have to make use of two variables. In order to name a variable, there are certain rules that we have to follow. Some of the rules are, first one, a variable name must start with an alphabet or an underscore. The alphabet can be either in small letters or capital letters. Second, a variable name should not start with a number. Thirdly, a variable name can contain alphabets, both big letter as well as small letter, numbers 0 through 9, and underscore. You cannot have any other special characters like and symbol, at symbol, or anything else that is there on the keyboard. What are the only three things allowed? Alphabets, numbers, and underscore. Next, variable names are case sensitive. That is, small letters and capital letters are used differently for variable names. So if you see the example, there are three variables where the spelling is same, AGE, but the case is different. So these three are considered as three different names. Space cannot be used for variable names. That is, we cannot write employee space salary as a variable name. Lastly, keywords cannot be used as variable names. Some examples are shown. Example X. It is a variable name. We are storing the value 5 in it. So how do we write it? X equal to 5. So the value stored is 5 and the variable name is X. The next example, X underscore Y is equal to India. Third example, num1 is equal to 34.88. So after the equal to sign, whatever we write is the value, and before the equal to sign, the names that you see are called as variable names. Now, there is a question for you. So the rules that I have mentioned for naming variables, please recall them and try to find out which are the correct variable names in this list. I'll give you a minute for you to think. Okay, let's see the answers now. The first one is EMP underscore salary. It is correct. EMP underscore is allowed. Capital letters are allowed. Small letters are also allowed. So it's correct. In the second case, AGE at symbol is not allowed in a variable name. The third one, num2. Yes, numbers are allowed, provided it doesn't come in the beginning. Fourth one, 2NUM. What is wrong here? Yes, variable names cannot start with a number. Fifth one, EMP, a space and a salary. Did you answer correctly? Yes, space is not allowed. The last one, underscore EMP salary, it is valid, it is correct because we can start with the underscore. Now, let us look at the most simple and important statement in any programming language, that is how to print an output. So we do calculations, we get the result, but until we print this result or we display the output, there is no use. So let us look at how to display the output that we have arrived at. It is just a simple statement, print. PRINT, written in all small letters. Then you start the bracket. If you want to display a message, you have to put the message within double quotes or single quotes. So see the first example. I have printed a message called as hello. I have to use a print statement, the brackets. Within the bracket, if I am displaying a message, I write the message within either double quotes or single quotes. And the output is also shown below, hello. In the next example, I am using a variable x. I have stored the value 100 inside x. Now, I would like to display the value of x. I write print within bracket, I write x without the double quotes. I'll repeat. Whenever you want to print the value inside a variable, I should not use double quotes or single quotes. I just print it as the variable name. So here my output is 100. That is the value stored inside x. Next, let us look at arithmetic operators. Now, whenever we would like to do some operations or calculations, we have to use symbols. These symbols used for representing arithmetic operations are called as arithmetic operators. The common arithmetic operators are shown here in the slide. That is addition, plus, subtraction, minus, etc. Multiplication, we use the asterisk symbol on the keyboard. That is, it is like a star. Now, if you notice, the division and modulus operator, I will just give you the working of it. The division gives the quotient as the answer. So the example, 4 divided by 2 is equal to 2. The modulus operator, that is the percentage symbol, gives the remainder after division. That is 4 mod 2 is equal to 2. We can perform power operation using double asterisks, that is 2 star symbols. Next, we look at what is a data type in Python. There are various types of data that can be stored in a computer. You can store numbers, you can store words, you can store images, movie files, etc. Here, I'm going to deal with the 3 basic data types which are useful for our lab cycle. The 3 basic data types are, first one, integer. They are representing whole numbers, that is, the numbers without decimal point. Examples, 8, minus 50, 200. We can store both negative numbers as well as positive numbers. Next is a floating point. Here, we represent numbers with decimal point. Again, both negative numbers as well as positive numbers can be stored. Next, we go for string. String is a set of characters. It can use any character available on your keyboard. That is alphabets, numbers, special characters like at, hash, percentage, bracket, anything. But remember, it has to be put within double quotes or single quotes. Can you see the examples there? Hello is written within double quotes. India is written within single quotes. The last one, the number 087 is also written in single quotes. So it represents a string. So any string is represented within double quotes or single quotes. Next, we look at a useful concept called comment. A comment is written inside a program in order to give some extra information about that program. A third person, when he looks at your program, it may be difficult for him to understand. So you have to give some explanation to your programs. This explanation is called as comment. These comments are not executed by the computer. That is, we don't get an output for the comments that you write. In order to write a comment, we use the symbol hash. In the example, you see that the first two sentences begin with the hash. They are the comments. It is just giving some information about the actual program that you have written. The program is given below, like num1 equal to 100, etc. Did you notice a color difference when you write a comment? Even when you type your program, you will get the same color difference on your editor screen. Comments are useful whenever the program is very, very large. Usually softwares, there are thousands and thousands of lines of code. So in order to write explanation about each part of the code, we make use of comments. Now let us look at the lab cycle 20, which uses the two concepts that I have earlier explained, that is variables and arithmetic operators along with data types. So using these three concepts which I have already explained is the lab cycle number 20. I will be doing the lab cycles not in the order because it is in the degree of simplicity I am doing the experiment. So this is the most simple experiment. So I have started with that. So I have introduced the basic concepts. Using these basic concepts, this is the first lab cycle, that is lab cycle 20. Here we have to add two integers and two strings. Remember what an integer is? It is a whole number. What is a string? Any word with any types of characters in it, but written in double quotes is called a string. And we have to print the result. What is the statement for printing the result? Print. Okay, now look at the first part. It has two variables, num1 and num2, to store the two integers 100 and 200. The third statement, sum1, is used to store the answer of addition operation, that is, sum1 is equal to num1 plus num2. The answer is stored inside the variable sum1. Now, using the print statement, we are going to display our output. We write print, open the bracket. The sum of two integers is, that is a string. So notice that it is written in double quotes. After that, I write sum1, which is a variable name, without the double quotes. Remember, I told you, if you don't put double quotes for the variable name, it will display the value in that variable. What is the value inside sum1? It's 300. That is the sum of 200 and 100. So 300 is going to be stored in sum1 and the answer will be, see the output, the sum of two integers is 300. The string and the variable name is separated by a comma. Similarly, the second part shows how to add two strings. The first string is stored inside the variable called str1. We are storing JSS. Did you notice the double quotes? Second, str2, another variable which stores the second string, Polytechnic. Now we are going to add the two strings. Sum2 stores the addition of the two strings, that is str1 and str2. To display the output, we use the print statement. So we write the addition of two strings is, notice the double quotes. Then the answer is in sum2. We write sum2 without the double quotes. The output, the addition of two strings is JSS Polytechnic. So hope you are familiar with the words variable, addition operator, print statement, string, integers, etc. Okay, now we will go to the installation of Python so that I can give you a live demo of how to type this program and get the output. Over to you, Shruti.
Thank you, madam. Now I request Sri Arun J. Shankar, lecturer in JSS Polytechnic, Mysuru, to illustrate how to install Python. Over to you, sir.
So, good morning, all of you. Now I continue with installation of Python software. So before downloading any software, first we should know which operating system I am using. That is, so in Windows, we have a different versions like Windows XP, Windows 7, Windows 8, 8.1, and Windows 10. So these are all the different versions of Windows. So before downloading any software, the first thing we should get to know is which operating system I am using. The second thing which we wanted to know is the processor type. So we have two architecture. There are two types of architecture in processor. So that is 32-bit architecture or the 64-bit architecture. So in order to know this, how to check this, whether my operating system is Windows 8 or Windows 8.1 and the processor type, just I had to go to my desktop and right clicking that and select the properties. So once you get into that, so you will get this window. See, so the system configuration window will appear. So here you can notice in the screen. So in my laptop, I have installed 8.1 and 64-bit architecture I'm using. Okay, so these two things are mandatory to know, not only for installing the Python, for any other software. Okay, so based on this, I have to choose. So this table will illustrate so different operating systems along with the different versions of Python. See, if I installed Windows XP in my PC, then I have to go for Python 2.5 version. If I am having Windows 7, then 3.8.6 Windows 7 as well as Windows 8. So if you have this operating system, Windows operating system, then you have to go for Python 3.8.6. Okay. So if you installed Windows 10 or Windows 8.1 operating system, then the latest version of Python has to be downloaded. Okay. So just I'm demonstrating. So how to check my Windows operating system and the processor type. See, I'm in the desktop now. So see here, we have a my computer icon. So in some PC, this PC was written over here. So just I'm right clicking on this. I'm selecting the properties. See properties. Okay, here we have a system configuration window here. See, I have installed Windows 8.1, Windows 8.1 Pro operating system to my laptop, and the architecture of my processor is 64-bit. That is 64-bit operating system and 64-based processor. So now I come to the conclusion that so I can go for the latest version of Python. See here. So as we seeing in the screen, see in the table, if I have a Windows 8.1 operating system, I can download a latest version of Python, that is 3.9.1. Okay, so now I am going for downloading the Python software. So in order to download, must and should you should have an internet connectivity and open your favorite browser. Okay, so just type Google, search for Google. So here we have a Google search engine. So just type a Python over here, hit enter. Okay. Python over here and hit a enter. Okay. And the first link which is appearing is the official website of Python. That is www.python.org. This is the official website of Python. So just I'm clicking the link of welcome to python.org. Yes, here is the home page of Python Incorporation. So we have a multiple tabs here about downloads, documentation, community and all. So just we are concentrating on downloads. So just I'm clicking the downloads tab here. So I have to go for the latest version, that is my Python 3.9.1. So just I'm clicking off this button. Okay, see here Python 3.9.1. Click this. So your download will begin. Okay, see, within a minute, the download is completed. That is Python 3.9.1 exe file has been downloaded. So before installing this Python 3.9.1, I'll show you how to download the previous releases, because in some colleges they might use Windows XP or Windows 7 or Windows 8 operating system. For that, we need to go for earlier releases. That is the previous version of Python. So in order to go for, again, go to Downloads tab, click on All Releases. See here, we have a All Releases option in the Download tab. I'm clicking this. So again, scroll down. So here we have an option called Looking for a Specific Release. Looking for a specific release. In this, I can go for Python 3.8.6. Python 3.8.6. This is for Windows 8 and Windows 7 operating system. So if you scroll down this, so you have all the releases. If you are using Windows XP, then you can go for 2.5. So now I am demonstrating how to download 3.8.6. This is for Windows 7 and Windows 8 operating system. Just click on download here. See 3.8.6. I'm just clicking the download. It will open a Python 3.8.6 page. Scroll down. See here we have a files option. We have a files option in this. So Windows x86 or 64 executable installer. So this we need to click. So it comes with a both 64-bit and 32-bit architecture. Okay. So if you just click on this, your download will begin. Just I'm canceling it because I already downloaded my Python 3.9.1 because I have installed Windows 8.1 operating system. So I'm opening my exe file. So in order to open, see here we have an arrow. Just click on show in folder. Show in folder. See here we have a Python 3.9.1 64. Okay, this is my exe file. So to download, what we have to do, just double click on this. Double click on this. Okay, so here we have a Python 3.9.1 setup window. Okay, see here we have two options. One is install now and another one is customize installation. Okay, install now and customize installation. We have a two option. Okay, so if you click on install now, so it will be installing in C drive. That is in your C drive, it will install. So if you don't want to install your Python software in C drive, then I have to go for customize installation. Okay, so I'll show you how to customize. Just click on customize installation. Choose the default options as it is. Just click on next. See here we have a customize install location. Customize install location. So just click on browse button. So here we can choose a different path. So which path you want, so that path you can choose. So my computer. So if you want to go for D drive, just click on select this option and click OK. Okay. I'm just canceling this because I'm okay with installing my Python software in C drive. Okay. And one more thing. So in this, we have a two checkboxes: install launcher for all users, that it has enabled, and this one, add Python 3.9 to path. So this should be must and should enable. This should be enabled because so if you forget to enable this checkbox, then in the environment variables ಅಲ್ಲಿ explicit ಆಗಿ ನಾವೇನೆ path na add ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. Okay, so explicit ಆಗಿ ನಾವೇನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ, path na add ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. So instead of that, just enable this checkbox. Okay, so I'm repeating again. So in this Python setup window, must and should enable this checkbox. Otherwise, your Python will not work. Otherwise, so there is an option to add the Python path. Explicit ಆಗಿ add ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. Python path ಎಲ್ಲಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹುಡುಕಿ, so and script path ಎಲ್ಲಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹುಡುಕಿ, then I had to go for a advanced system settings ಹೋಗಿ, there I had to add the path. Okay, so ಅಷ್ಟೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಿಂತ just simple thing is enable this checkbox. Okay, So after enabling this checkbox, usually ಈ window ಬಂದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಏನ್ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ, ಓ install now is there, just I'm going for install now. So ಇದನ್ನ click ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀವಿ. Okay, so ಅದಕ್ಕೇನೆ careful ಆಗಿರಿ. So in this particular window we need to enable this checkbox. Okay, so now I'm okay with installing my Python software in C drive. Just I'm clicking install now. Okay, so it will ask for the admin permission. Just user account control, just click on yes. See, my setup is in progress now. So it will take time. So it has to download, sorry, it has to install all the packages, library packages, executable, standard library and all. So it will take a time. So it is so easy, like installing a software. ನಿಮ್ಮ Android mobile ಗೆ ನೀವೇ Play Store ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿ software ನ download ಮಾಡ್ಕೋತೀರಾ. So it will ask for the permission and all. So there it will not ask for the drives ಎಲ್ಲ ಇರಲ್ಲ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ C drive, D drive, E drive ಅಂತೆಲ್ಲ ಇರಲ್ಲ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದೇ ಒಂದು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ, internal storage ಇರುತ್ತೆ. In that storage it will install. Here we have a multiple drives. For that reason it will ask for the customization. So the Python file size is only 25 MB. Okay, 25 MB there. So it will install for it. It's not a heavy application. It's a lightweight application. Okay, pip is installing. Pip is one of the package installer for our setup, a Python setup. So before downloading, first we need to know which operating system and my processor type. Yes, so my setup is completed now. See here, setup was successful. Python 3.9.1 setup was successful. Just I'm closing this. Okay, just I'm closing this. See, so now I downloaded my Python software and I installed. Okay, now I want to verify whether my Python software is installed to my PC successfully or not. Okay, I just wanted to verify that. So verify ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ what I had to do. So see, there is no icon called Python ಅಂತ ಏನು icon ಇಲ್ಲ. It is installed in my C drive. C drive ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. So ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ಹೋಗೋ ಬದಲು just I'm going for a command prompt. Okay, I'm opening a command prompt. So to open a command prompt, so just go to search. Okay, so here type command prompt. See here, command prompt anta type ಮಾಡಿ search ಅಲ್ಲಿ. So here we will get a command prompt. So click on this. So here check ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ just I am giving one simple command called Python. Python, hit enter. See, Python 3.9.1 is installed to my PC successfully. So if you get this three angular brackets, then your Python software is successfully installed. Okay, so I'm in a Python shell now. Okay, so in this case, if you enter Python, and sometimes you will get an error. For that you have to go for Microsoft Visual C++ redistributor ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಇದೆ, ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಾಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. Okay, so anyhow I mentioned that in my PPT. I'll show you. Okay, so if you are facing any trouble, once I successfully downloaded and installed the Python, you have to get this prompt, three angular brackets. If you are not getting this prompt, then what I have to do, I have to install Microsoft Visual C++ redistributor ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಇದೆ. So that is a supporting software for Python that needs to be installed. Okay, so just I'm executing some commands. Okay, so print. So here itself we can do a lab cycle. Okay, so print welcome to Python. So close the double quotes, close the brace, hit enter. See, welcome to Python. I'm getting the output. So just I'm storing one data to is equal to 100. Okay, just I'm printing x. See, the 100 is displaying. If I want to print x is equal to 100, then I have to go for print double quotes x is equal to, and close this, comma x. Okay, see, x is equal to 100. So here itself I can execute all my lab cycles, but it is not that much interactive. See, ನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಏನಾದ್ರು ನಾವು ಈ ತರ ಇಫ್ ನಾವೇನಾದ್ರೂ ಈ ಕಮಾಂಡ್ ಪ್ರಾಂಪ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವೇನಾದ್ರು ಎಕ್ಸಿಕ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ರೆ ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಗೆಟ್ ಬೋರ್ಡ್ ಔಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿಸ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ದಟ್ ಮಚ್ ಲೈವ್ಲಿ ಆಗಿ ಇಲ್ಲ. It is like watching a black and white TV ತರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. So for that reason, what I'm going to do is now I'll install some of the code editors for my Python. Okay, so just I'll show you how to download my code editor. Okay, so I'm exit from this. I'll just exit from this. See, in order to exit, give a command, exit, hit enter. See, now I'm closing this. I'm going back to my PPT. See, till now what I taught you. So the software required, Python and the Jupyter Notebook, that I'm going to demonstrate now how to download Jupyter Notebook. And so if you're facing any trouble in installing the Python, so then you have to go for Microsoft Visual C++ 2015 distributable software that has to be downloaded. Okay. So first what I did, I went for python.org official website. Then I clicked on this exe file. Next, so before clicking on install now, we need to add this path. Next, okay, setup was successful. So in order to check, just we have to give a command Python. Okay, Python 3.9.1. So this is how to install the Python software. So next is, so I just installing one of the code editors. So there are different kinds of code editors are there. Like we have a PyCharm IDE, Jupyter Notebook is there, Jupyter Lab, Visual Studio Code, Spider, Anaconda Navigator. These are all the different IDEs, so which is used to execute my Python program. But now I'll install Jupyter Notebook because it is very easy and it is very interactive to run my Python code. Okay, so if you install this Jupyter Notebook, you can also go for machine learning, artificial intelligence simulations kind of programs also can be executed. Okay, so to install that, again I have to go for command prompt ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕು. There I have to give a command called pip space install notebook. Okay, so pip space install notebook ಅನ್ನೋ command ನ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು ನಾನು. Okay, so I'm just demonstrating that. Okay, I'll minimize this. So go to command prompt. How to go to command prompt? Oh, what? Hello. Yes, sorry for the trouble. So how to go to command prompt? From command prompt. So I'm in a desktop now. So again, go to search. Okay, otherwise you click on Windows R. So there you can click run. Okay, window ಮತ್ತೆ R button ಎರಡೂನು simultaneous ಆಗಿ window key is there in your keyboard along with R. Okay, CMD ಅಂತ type ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ so it will open my command prompt. Okay, so in order to install Jupyter Notebook, this is a one-time installation. No need to install again and again. One-time installation ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಸಾಕು. Okay, so to install, pip is a command. Pip install, okay, notebook. Pip install notebook. Okay, just I'm hitting enter. See, in the command prompt I'm giving a command pip. Pip is one of the package for my Python package manager it is. So pip anno command space install space notebook. Okay, I'm hitting enter. Okay, so it will take a minute to install. Okay, it will first download and it will install the collected packages. Okay, see, so my notebook is successfully installed. See, so how to install the Jupyter Notebook? Just give the command pip install notebook. Where I have to give this command? So go to command prompt will go to pip space install notebook. Okay, so it will install the notebook. Okay, notebook package na install ಮಾಡಿರುತ್ತೆ. So now I want to open my Jupyter notebook. Jupyter notebook na ನಾನು open ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. So for that the command is JUPYTER space notebook. Okay, so just I'm giving the command JUPYTER Jupyter notebook. Just hit enter. So it will open a Jupyter notebook in your default browser. See, my default browser is Google Chrome. So in this Google Chrome, so my Jupyter notebook has opened. Okay, so this is my main window. That is IDE of my Jupyter notebook. So here we have a different options. That is, so music, picture. These are all the options which are there in my users and Arun Jain folder layer. Okay, so that will shows as it is. So now I'll create a folder. Okay, so ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಈಗ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಬ್ರಾಂಚ್ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಒಂದೇ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ ಫಾರ್ ದಟ್ ರೀಸನ್ ವಾಟ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಡೂ ಇಸ್ ಐ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಎ ಫೋಲ್ಡರ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್. ಸಿ, ಸೊ ಇಫ್ ಐ ಗೋ ಫಾರ್ ಏನು ಕಮಾಂಡ್ ಪ್ರಾಂಪ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ನಾನು ಪೈಥಾನ್ ನ ಎಕ್ಸಿಕ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಸಿ ನನ್ಗೆ ಈ ತರ ಫೋಲ್ಡರ್ಸ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲ ಆಗಲ್ಲ, ಫೈಲ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಫಾರ್ ದಟ್ ರೀಸನ್ ಫೈಲ್ಸ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು, ಬಟ್ we cannot create a folder. We can also create the folder, but for that also we need to learn some commands, basic command prompt commands na kaltkoಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. So instead of doing that circus, so just I'm going with a GUI based editor, that is my Jupyter notebook. So here we have a Jupyter notebook window. So to create a new folder, see in the bottom right corner, so we have a new button. So click on this. So we have a folder option. See, folder option is there. Just click this. So it will create a untitled folder. Okay, so I wanted to rename this folder. So in order to rename, so enable this checkbox. See, in the left upper corner we have a rename button. Just I'm clicking on this. So enter a name, enter a new directory name. I'm giving my name Arun, rename. Okay, see, the folder has been created Arun. Okay, so now inside this folder I'll create a Python program. Okay, so just I'm entering into this folder. I'm clicking Arun folder. See, we are inside Arun. So you can observe here, this is the root folder and this is my created folder. Okay, so again to create a file, again go to new button, click on new button. See, we have a Python 3 option here. Okay, so I installed Python 3.9.1, that is the version 3 of Python. That's why, so Python 3 is present here. Okay, just I'm clicking this. So it will open up in another tab. Okay, see, so here I can do my Python program. I'll execute my Python program. So we have a different options like file, edit, view, insert, cell. See, ಈ ಕಮಾಂಡ್ ಪ್ರಾಂಪ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಎಕ್ಸಿಕ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ we won't get these options. Okay, so here we have a GUI based editor. So here I can do copy, paste, whatever, like ನಾವು ವರ್ಡ್ ನ ಹೇಗೆ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಆ ತರ ನಾನು ಈ ಎಡಿಟರ್ ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬಹುದು. It is user friendly ಆಗಿದೆ. Okay, so this is called as cell. In this cell only we will write a code. Okay, so a green button in indicate ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ I am in this particular cell. So if I want to add one more cell, just click plus on this. See, one more cell it is adding plus. It is keep on adding the cells. Okay, so if you want to delete this, just click a cut mark here. Okay, cut mark here. Okay, so we have a copy option, paste option, run option. Okay, so I'll show you a simple program. Okay, hash is for command. Write a Python program to display a name. Okay, so I'm using a print command. Print inside the double quotes, my name is Arun. Okay, see, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕಲರ್ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಕಲರ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂಡಿಕೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಪ್ರಿಂಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ ಕಮಾಂಡ್. Okay, print is one of the function. So inside this print, in the double quotes, I have written my name is Arun. So it is in a pink color. So brackets open ಮಾಡಿ ತಕ್ಷಣ ನೋಡಿ bracket open ಮತ್ತೆ close green color ಅಲ್ಲಿ indicate ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. So how to run my program? Just click run. Okay, see here we have a run button. Click on this. Oh, sorry, small p. So run. Okay, so see previously I was getting error because so print ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ನಾನು p capital ಬರ್ದಿದೆ. So Python is a case sensitive language. So ನಾವು ಎಲ್ಲದನ್ನು ಏನು ಕೊಡಬೇಕು, ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಕೇಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು. ಕಮಾಂಡ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಯಾವ್ದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಇರಬೇಕು, ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಕೇಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಇರಬೇಕು. See, my name is Arun. Okay, my name is Arun. So again I'll take one variable x is equal to 100. Just I'll print x. Okay, so e particular cell na run ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ see we have a green button ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಈ box highlight ಆಗಿದೆ ನೋಡಿ. Okay, run this 100. Okay, if I want x is equal to 100, x is equal to, so inside double quotes x is equal to double quotes close comma, so separator. So this is my string, x is equal to another string. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ, I have written inside the double quotes. Next comma is a separator. It is string and this is my variable. Okay, so I'll run this program. See, x is equal to 100. Okay, so this is how we'll run the Python program. Okay, so I'll make a mistake here. See, just I'll removing my double quotes. One double quotes na remove ಮಾಡಿದೀನಿ. Again I'll run this code. Okay, see, end of the line while scanning string literals, I'm getting an error in line number 2. Okay, so ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಇಂಟರಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಏನಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಯೂಶಲಿ ನಾವು ಕೋಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ವಿಲ್ ಡೂ ಅ ಮಿಸ್ಟೇಕ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಈ ತರ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಶೋ ದ ಲೈನ್ ನಂಬರ್ ಆನ್ ವಿಚ್ ಲೈನ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಗೆಟಿಂಗ್ ದ ಎರರ್. ಸೊ ಈಸಿಯಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಎರರ್ ನ ಡಿಬಗ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಈಸಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ರೀಸನ್ ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಾಲ್ಡ್ ಪೈಥಾನ್ ನೋಟ್ಬುಕ್ ನ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಾಲ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಇದೇ ಥಿಂಗ್ ನ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಕ್ಸಿಕ್ಯೂಟ್ ಇನ್ ಕಮಾಂಡ್ ಪ್ರಾಂಪ್ಟ್. ಸಿ ಡಿಫ್ರೆನ್ಸ್ ತೋರಿಸ್ತೀನಿ ವೈ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಾಲ್ಡ್ ಜುಪಿಟರ್ ನೋಟ್ಬುಕ್ ಅಂತ. So command prompt ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು just I'm giving the command python ಅಂತ ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ. So parallelly I'll show you. Okay, so here if I want to print my name, so print ನೋಡಿ, print ಅಂದ್ಮೇಲೆ just I'm opening the brace, one double quotes ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ see again I have to write the string and close ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. again and ಮಾಡಬೇಕು close the brace. Okay, so in the same program na nanenu idರಲ್ಲಿ execute ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ನೋಡಿ print. Okay, so if I open a brace, automatically it will close that brace. Okay, if I open a double quotes, automatically it will closes the double quotes. So inside this Arun anta ಬರಿಬಹುದು. Getting the difference? See, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, print ಅಂತ ಬಂದ್ರೆ so print open. See, one brace open ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ it is not closing. Again I have to open the double quotes. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಕಂಟೆಂಟ್ ಹಾಕಬೇಕು ಮತ್ತೆ ಡಬಲ್ quotes close and hit enter. So this is the reason why I have installed the notebook. Okay, so exit from this. Okay, so just I'm closing this. Okay, so I think you all clear with how to download and install the Python notebook. Once again I'll show you how to open my Jupyter notebook. Okay, see, ನಾನು untitled ಅಂತ ಇದೆ. I'll show you how to rename my file. rename ಮಾಡೋದು ಹೆಂಗೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ go for this time. Okay, so rename ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಫೈಲ್ ನ untitled ಅಂತ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಲಿಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ just example ಅಂತ ಕೊಡಿ rename. See, untitled ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದೇನೆ ಆಯ್ತು, rename ಆಯ್ತು. Okay, so go to Arun folder, see example.ipynb, that is IPython notebook ಅಂತ ಏನಾಯ್ತು, ಫೈಲ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಆಯ್ತು. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ in order to exit ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಲಾಗ್ಔಟ್ ಆಪ್ಷನ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಅ ಲಾಗ್ಔಟ್ ಆಪ್ಷನ್ ಹಿಯರ್. click on this logout option. Okay, click on this logout option. See, log out from this. I'm closing the browser. Okay, so again in the command prompt we have to stop this kernel. Python Jupyter notebook and the command ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ವಲ್ಲ, that needs to be closed properly. Every time we need to close this. by pressing Control C. Control button along with C. Simultaneous agi Control C na press ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. Okay. So just I'm closing this. So once again, I'll show you how to open the Jupyter Notebook now. Okay, one-time installation, that is pip install notebook is for one time. ಒಂದ್ಸಲಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಸಾಕು ನೀವು. So next time open ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ go to command prompt, and here I have to type Jupyter Notebook, Jupyter space notebook. Hit enter. So it will open in a default browser. See, default browser open ಆಯ್ತು. So I have created a folder, already created folder ಯಾವುದು ಅರುಣ್ ಅಂತ. So inside that I have a example.ip embed. Click ಮಾಡಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು program execute ಮಾಡಿಕೋ. So that will appear here. Okay. So previous ಆಗಿ ಸೇವ್ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಇದು ಏನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ನೀವು ಎಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಚೆಕ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಆಗಿತ್ತು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ ಮಾತ್ರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. So every time ನಾವು ಏನು ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ that needs to be saved. ಅವಾಗ ಸೇವ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಚೆಕ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ಆಪ್ಷನ್ ಇದೆ, ಅದನ್ನ ಕ್ಲಿಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ. Okay. So if you want to take a printout, ಈಗ ಈ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಎಕ್ಸಿಕ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದೆ ನಾನು, ಈ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಪ್ರಿಂಟ್ಔಟ್ ತಗೋಬೇಕು ನಾನು. Okay. ಪ್ರಿಂಟ್ಔಟ್ ಯಾವ ತರ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋದು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಸೊ ಐದರ್ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಗೋ ಫಾರ್ ಪೇಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿ ನಾವು ಸ್ಕ್ರೀನ್ ಶಾಟ್ ತಗೊಂಡು ಪೇಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಅದರ್ವೈಸ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಗೋ ಫಾರ್ ಸ್ನಿಪ್ಪಿಂಗ್ ಟೂಲ್ ಅಂತ ಆಪ್ಷನ್ ಇದೆ. ಸ್ನಿಪ್ಪಿಂಗ್ ಟೂಲ್ ಇಸ್ ದೇರ್. ಸಿ ಸ್ನಿಪ್ಪಿಂಗ್ ಟೂಲ್. ಸೊ ಸ್ನಿಪ್ಪಿಂಗ್ ಟೂಲ್ window will appear. Click on new. So here I can select this. Okay. So this will appear in another window. Okay. Snipping tool ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಇದೇನಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಎಡಿಟ್ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಕಾಪಿ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. Okay. Copy, edit, go to edit and copy, or Control C ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು. So next ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ನಾನು, I'll open new Word file. Word document. Okay, just I'm opening the Word document. Control B. Okay, so ಈ ತರ ನಾವು ಪೇಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬಹುದು ಔಟ್ಪುಟ್. ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ನೀವು ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಟೈಪ್ ಮಾಡಿರೋದೇ ಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಕಾಪಿ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಪೇಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬಹುದು. ನೀವು ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸಿಕ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಪ್ರಿಂಟ್ಔಟ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತಲ್ಲ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ಗೆ, ನಾವು ಲ್ಯಾಬ್ ಸೈಕಲ್ಗೆ ಔಟ್ಪುಟ್ ಪ್ರಿಂಟ್ಔಟ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಗೋ ಫಾರ್ ಸ್ನಿಪ್ಪಿಂಗ್ ಟೂಲ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಡನ್ ವಿತ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಾಲೇಷನ್ ಅಂಡ್ downloading and installation part of Python. So I hope you all understood how to install and download and install the Python software. Now I'll hand over the session to Srimati Sheenu Koshi. Thank you all.
Thank you, Arun sir. It was very nicely presented, the installation as well as how to run the program. Thank you very much, sir. Now, once again, I'll request Srimati Sheenu Koshi to continue with the session. Over to you, madam.
So I've already covered the lab cycle 20. Now we will use our Jupyter Notebook editor, and I will show you a live demo of typing the program and getting the output. So this is lab cycle 20, that is addition of 2 integers and 2 strings. Okay, we are going to type our first program, that is addition of 2 numbers, 2 integers and 2 strings. So let us recall what are the concepts we use in this program. First of all, the basic print statement that is used to get an output or to display an output. Program number 20. Program number 20. The program is write a Python program to add 2 integers and 2 strings, and we have to print the result for both of it. So this is the first comment line. It is starting with the hash symbol. Remember, comment will not be executed. It is just for our information. Let us see, we are giving explanation what is the name of the program. It is not going to be executed. So I have declared a variable called as num1. So remember variable names. Okay, you can use number, you can use word. I have stored the value 100 inside num1. Similarly, I am storing the value 200 in my second variable num2. Now I will store the result of the addition in a third variable called as sum1. Okay, I am using which operator? Addition operator. Now I print the answer which is stored in sum1. So I use a print statement. Using print statement, I am printing the output that I have got in my sum1. So already the answer will be stored there. Now I am printing it. So see, it is again having two parts. The first part is a string. The sum of two integers is, that is in double quotes. Then I have sum1, which is a variable storing the value 300. The separator for both is comma. Please remember to put the comma whenever you are separating a string and a variable name. Can you see the output? When we click on the run button, we got the output. Now to go to the second part of the program, that is to add two strings. So remember, strings should be typed within double quotes or single quotes. Now second string we will type in single quotes, just to show you that both are valid. Second string will be typed in single quotes, just to show you that both are correct. You can either put a string in double quotes or you can put it within single quotes. I use a third variable called sum2 to store the addition of the two strings JSS and Polytechnic. JSS is stored in str1, Polytechnic is stored in str2. The sum of the two is stored in a variable called as sum2. And we print the output. The addition of two strings is, it is a message or a string, so it is written within either double quotes or single quotes. We use a separator, comma, and then we display the variable name sum2. Now click on the run button. Can you see the result? So JSS Polytechnic has been joined together. It is added. The two numbers have been added together. Now we'll change the numbers. Just we have to change the numbers wherever it is typed. Now I'm using the number 145 and I'm using the number 2 for the second number. 200 but like 2. Just you have to change it there. Now click on run button again. Can you see the updated output now? The sum is 147. Similarly, even for JSS Polytechnic, you can use different strings. You can just randomly type whatever strings you want to join and just click on run button. Simple, isn't it? So just I'll show you in case you make a mistake, how it is going to show you the error. Okay, so if you notice string 2 Mysore, it is not closed with a single quotes. I'm going to run the program now. Can you see there is a syntax error? Remember what is the syntax? The rule has been violated. What is the rule? That when there is a starting double quotes or single quotes, there should be an ending double quotes or single quotes. It's on line number 9. It is showing you specifically Mysuru. It is not closed. That word it shows where the error is happening. Now correct it and click on the run button and you get the output. Okay. Now we will go to the next concept. Before I go for the next lab cycle, because I have to teach you a new concept, I'll go back to my presentation. Okay, next we are dealing with the if statement or decision making. This is required for the next lab cycle, that is lab cycle number 22. Now, if statement is used to execute some statements based on this condition. Now let us look at an example. Now all of you know that for a person to vote, he should be of minimum 18 years. That is, he should be 18 or above if he is eligible to vote. Now that if you want to write in a program, we have to make use of this if statement or decision making. So we write an if statement, the condition which is going to be checked whether a person can vote or not, and then you write the statements can vote or cannot vote. So the two keywords that we are learning now in this program is if and else. The second situation, now I go to an ATM to do a transaction. First, it asks me to enter my PIN. When I enter my PIN, the PIN I enter is checked with the PIN already stored in the database. If it is correct, only then I can proceed with my transaction. So can you see what is happening there? My entered PIN is checked with the PIN stored in my database, and if it is equal, just notice the words, if the pins are equal, then I continue with my transaction. So can you see a decision making there? If it is correct, I do my transaction. Otherwise, I will not be able to proceed with my transaction. Similarly, I take another example. Let us take the case of a student going to pass or fail. How do we decide whether he has passed or failed? We have to check his marks. If the marks for the SEM end exam is greater than or equal to 35, that means he has passed. Otherwise, he has failed. So, what is the condition we are checking here? Whether the marks is greater than or equal to 35. So, whenever we have two options for any condition and I have to execute only one option, then I go for the if statement or the decision making statement. Is it clear where you have to use the if statement? Now, suppose I want to practically do this in a program, like for example, checking my ATM PIN. I have to make use of certain operators. For the ATM PIN, I have to check whether the two pins are equal. That is my entered PIN and the PIN already stored in the database. I use the double equal to operator. Can you notice that equal to operator? It is represented with a 2 equal to sign. So if I want to check whether two things are equal, I use 2 equal to symbols. So 5, is it equal to 2? It will give me an answer false because 5 is not equal to 2. So these decision-making operators are called comparison operators and they return an answer true or false. Take the other example of marks greater than or equal to 35. Which operator should I use? Yes, the greater than or equal to symbol. We are checking whether the marks is greater than or equal to 35. So if a student's marks is 67, is it greater than or equal to 35? Yes, it returns true. And we can execute our statement, the student has passed. These comparison operators are used in if statements and loops. So just have a look at the comparison operators available in Python. I'm only covering the basic operators here, which is required for your lab cycle. Now, we'll show you the syntax, how to use the if statement. So first, I store the marks of 33 into a variable called marks. Can you see the if statement? If is a keyword. So please use small letter for if. Then I check my condition using the greater than or equal to comparison operator. If marks greater than or equal to 35, next colon. Colon means 2 dots. You have to put a colon after an if statement. Next, can you notice the tab? There are 4 spaces between the if and the print statement. That is called tab space. It is must to put a tab space before writing the print statement. Otherwise, it will give you an error. So, I press a tab, then I write print and pass. Now let's go to the otherwise condition. That is, what if his marks is less than 35? We go for the else statement. Can you see that it is also written in small letters? It is also a keyword. After else, again we use the colon and again a tab space, and I write the second option, that is, he has failed. So this fail is executed only if the first condition is false. That is, here my marks is only 33. 33, is it greater than equal to 35? No, it returns false. Now it will execute the else condition. It will not execute the if condition, that is pass, but it will go to the else condition since my marks is only 33 and the condition becomes false. This is the correct syntax. Now have a look at what mistake you might make, that is a wrong indentation. In the program below, can you see that all the sentences are typed in the same line? That is, below if statement, we have the print starting on the same line, else on the same line, print on the same line. So please don't do this. Be very, very careful. Whenever you use a if statement, you have to do proper indentation. Now I will type this program and show you how it runs in a live demo. So go back to our Jupyter notebook. Can you see in the first cell I'm having the first program? I can either type it in a new file, or I can even use the second cell. I will take a new file to type my second program, that is lab cycle number 22. Again, I'm reminding you, I'm not going in order because the easiest concepts I am doing first, and the lab cycle programs related to those topics I will be covering. The difficult ones I will do at the end. So this is a lab cycle number 22. It is to find whether odd or even. So program is to find whether the given number is odd or even. So can anybody tell me how to find out whether a number is odd or even? We have to find the remainder after division. Do you remember the operator that I told you? How do you find the remainder after division? Yes, the modulus operator. So we are going to use the modulus operator for this program. So first I store the number for which I want to check whether it is odd or even into a variable called as num1. So the variable name is num1. The value stored inside is 101. I want to check whether 101 is odd or even. Now notice the if statement. If, what is my condition? Num modulus 2 equal to 0 colon. So which is the operator I am using? Modulus operator. Can you notice the double equal to? That is to check whether num mod 2 answer is equal to 0. So that double equal to is a comparison operator. It is an equal to operator. It checks whether it is equal to 0 or not. Now the first condition, what if it is true? That is, if num mod 2 equal to 0 is true, I print my first statement, that is, it is an even number. Can you notice the indentation? After if statement, it, as soon as I put enter, automatically it takes the indentation. That is why we are using Jupyter Notebook. It is much easier for you to do it here, and you are less likely to make mistakes. Now the else statement should come below the if statement. Can you notice the if statement and the else statement on the same line? Else is a keyword. It should be written in small letters. Else is followed by a colon. Colon means 2 dots. Now I print the second conditional answer. That is, if it is false, what should happen? I print that the number is odd. So my second condition will be executed only if the answer for the conditional operator is false. Now I execute it by clicking on the run button. Did you hear the answer is odd? Yes. So since it is 101, 101 modulus 2 is equal to 1. So it is not equal to 0. It goes to the second condition and prints odd. Now we will change the number. We will make it as 100. We'll run it again. What is the output? Yes, we are getting it as even. Is it clear? Is it simple? Okay. So I think now we can go to our next concept. Okay. Next, we are going to another concept called as loops. This is in order to do our lab cycle number 21. So let me introduce you to a new concept in programming that is called loops. Now, there are certain cases where we would like to repeat some sentences. Example, I ask you to print welcome once. What will you do? You type welcome inside print statement. So you write it very happily. Print, brackets, double quotes, welcome. Now, suppose I ask you to do it 3 times. You will again write. So suppose I ask you to print welcome 3 times. Okay. With some difficulty, you will do it. Print, within bracket, welcome. Again, you will type print, within bracket, welcome. Third time, again you write print, bracket, welcome. And finally, when you finish writing the same sentence 3 times, you will get your output. What is the output? 3 times welcome has been printed. Okay, quite easy. Now, just imagine I ask you to do it for 100 times or 25 times. I'm sure most of you will not even attempt it, right? So you're going to get angry telling that 25 times, I can't do this. So we have a solution. That is called as loops. Understood why we require loops? Whenever some task has to be repeated again and again several times, we use the concept of loops. Can you see here? Print welcome 25 times. Instead of writing that, I just have 2 sentences. Loop 25 times and print welcome. Isn't it easy? So there are certain situations in real life where I would like to use this loop statement. One is your screw gauge or vernier calipers. So when you do that experiment, so how many iterations you do? You take so many readings for the same object. Similarly, the sum of the first 10 natural numbers. The same addition operator you're performing again and again and again, 1 plus 2 plus 3, etc. So all these repetition sort of tasks can be done using loops. So Fourier transform, Fibonacci series, wherever there is repeated calculations of the same type, we make use of loops. Now we have 3 types of loops in Python. While loop, for loop, and the do while loop. Let us see the while loop. So here we are going to cover only 2 loops, what is required in our syllabus. First one is the while loop. So the while loop repeats a set of statements as long as a condition is true. So first the condition is checked. Only if it is true, the statements are executed. Now let us look with an example. Printing the numbers from 1 to 5. So what is my starting number? 1. So I initialize the num, which is a variable, to 1 because I want to print from 1 to 5. I say num equal to 1. That is the initial value. Now I go to the condition part. I am checking whether that num is less than or equal to 5. It is true, right? 1 is less than equal to 5 returns true. So I will print my number. What is the answer I get? 1. Now I have to print my second number. So what should I do? Increase my num by 1. That is num is equal to num plus 1. What is the value in num now? 2. So again it checks the condition. Is 2 less than equal to 5? Yes, true. So this will keep on happening. So this is a looping operation. The same sentences print and the increasing of num keeps on taking place till the value of num becomes 6. What happens when num is equal to 6? The condition becomes false. That is, is 6 less than equal to 5? No. So the false condition will be executed and we stop the loop. Understood? The same thing is shown in the program. So the initial number that we want to print is 1. So I say num is equal to 1. Can you see the while statement? It is a keyword. So please remember to write in small letters. While num is less than equal to 5, what do I want to do? I do two operations, printing and increasing the num by 1. Can you notice the indentation? So we get the output 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now this program, I will show you a live demo. This is lab cycle number 21. Write a Python program to find the sum of 10 natural numbers. So write a program to find sum of 10 natural numbers. What are we using? The concept of loop. Which loop are we going to use? The while loop. So this is lab program number 21. It is to find the sum of natural numbers. So here we have taken 10 natural numbers. So if this program was done without the loop, it would have added another about 10 sentences to this program. Now the program is just 5 sentences. If we didn't have the loop concept, it would have gone up to 10 to 15 sentences. So here, first sentence, we are writing num equal to 10. So why I have selected 10? Because I want to find the sum of first 10 natural numbers. Next, I want to store the sum in a variable. So I use a variable called sum and the initial value of sum should be 0. Please note, I'm going to store the answer in a variable called sum and I'm going to give the initial value as 0. Next, I write the while statement. So what is the condition? I want to check whether num is greater than equal to 0. So notice the colon. Can you see after the enter directly it has taken one tab space? So this is the correct indentation. Here, when the loop is true, that is when the condition num greater than 0 is true, what do we want to do? I want to do two steps. One is I have to add my number, that is 10, which is in num1 is being added to sum. What is in sum? 0. So 0 plus 10 is equal to 10 and it is stored inside sum. So what is the value of sum? 10. Next, I have to decrease the value of num. So next I will be adding 9 to it. So I have 10 inside sum. Next I will add to 9. So to make the num 9, I reduce it by 1. That is num is equal to num minus 1. These two sentences I am repeating again and again. So each iteration, I keep on adding a number and decreasing a number. So first 10, it will decrease to 9. Next 9 will be decreasing to 8, 7, 6, etc. till it reaches 0. My answer is in sum. Now I am going to print my answer. Print statement must be familiar to you now. We are using the message, the sum of first 10 natural numbers is within double quotes. A comma is a separator. Where is my answer? In sum. So that I write after the comma. Now I'm going to click on the run button. I'm going to click on the run button. Can you see the answer? The sum of the first 10 natural numbers is 55. Now suppose I want to do it for 20. What should I do? I just change the num to 20 and now click on the run button and I'm going to get the answer as 210. So I will be continuing in the afternoon session, the remaining part of the program.